Yeah, he's gonna put his PowerPoint there. So I just need this is what's streaming on the 3 Facebooks and the 2 YouTubes. So now we're live. And then you can put his PowerPoint up there. Your finger is on the.
I don't see. But in this case, I don't see what I'm shooting. What? I don't see what I'm shooting.
Good morning. Is this you? Oh.
Tavisha. I mentioned your name, yeah. It was me. Is it possible for me to see what I'm shooting? Yeah, is it possible for me to see what I'm shooting? Because I'm going blind here. Here, I can't see what I'm shooting.
You can try and turn it around. Turn the camera.
Yeah, but now I see myself.
Now you see yourself?
Yeah.
Your camera options.
Where is it? It's muted.
No option.
So just turn it.
All right.
And then you should be able to see this.
Yeah, but then I can't see what I can see whether I've
Let me see.
see before I was seeing the feed on this, so I could use it to guide myself. But when I don't see
Oh, you already have his presentation on StreamYard as well? Okay. So just hold it here. But you should put the two on the screen so that you
is it
oh, you'll turn the camera on. There you go. See? Now you can see him, you can see everything. Just you see how you can see.
yeah. Now I can see on the screen.
Good morning and welcome to the second annual Ghana Hemptech Conference. My name is Devisha L. Johnson and we are live on Facebook at Devisha L. Johnson, the Cooperative Executive Management Team. We are global. We are also live on YouTube at DL Johnson Consulting Agency and Devisha L. Johnson YouTube page. So this morning, today, Saturday, we are talking about hemp. This is the second day of the conference, and we will discuss hemp all day today, and tomorrow we'll discuss technology. So our first presenter is Dr. Daniel Apokubenza. He's a non-executive board member of Simon Capital. He is a development planner, agriculturalist, and a banker with 30 years experience, with ADB being his final place of work. His role at ADB included coordinating the bank's nucleus outgrowth scheme to look at financial intervention for small and medium scale farmers, linked to large commercial farm operators, retail banking, and finally with the business supports and corporate recoveries units. So without further ado, I would like to introduce my favorite doctor, Daniel Apokubenza. Please welcome him.
Thank you, sis. That's lovely of you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My work this morning is the easiest, a risk and reward, as has been the formula since ages. Shall we start with a little story about Gandhi? He was visited by a lady and a little boy who had traveled 500 miles to visit this old man. And what was the problem? The lady said the young boy is eating gum. And so he wanted this great man to advise the young man. So Gandhi said, please, can you go and come back in 2 weeks? So they had to travel 500 miles away and return in 2 weeks. When they came back, Gandhi just said, son, come closer to me. You're a lovely boy. Sit down. Stop eating gum because you're going to be a great boy and a great man in the future. Madam, you can take your grandson away. So the woman said, what kind of therapy is this? I needed to go 500 miles away and come back for you to just say, son, stop eating gum. You're going to be great. So why did you do that? And you will be surprised the answer that Gandhi gave. He said, when you visited me 2 weeks ago, I was also eating gum. I didn't have the moral courage to tell this young boy to stop eating gum when I was eating gum. Risks and rewards come in different forms. You can brood over this story, who got a reward, who risked. However, we can return to today's program where we want to discuss the risks and reward for farmers in general. I have decided not to make it too narrow but broad because agriculture is agriculture. The fact that you keep the principles together, you would realize that it becomes very easy for you. So can we educate ourselves? What is the business of agriculture? How has it been? What has been the purpose for entering into such a venture? It's one of the riskiest ventures. One has been that the humankind needed to have food security. We have to survive. We are eating breakfast this morning. Some people are preparing for lunch. Of course, some people are not eating. It's all about food security. Then also it becomes a way of life and income earning center for people. Then it's also perceived an image. Others you can donate, the big nations. They use it in politics or in bilateral trade. Then we are also looking at the environment. Our critical survival depends on the environment. Agriculture has also either positively or negatively impacted on the environment. Then, in the general, we want to look at the national growth and development. So, with the intro, what is agri itself? What is this business of farmers about? We have to understand it. If you live in the city, you may take it for granted. Now, because the plantains are right in Mokola markets. Because the plantains have arrived in Mokola markets or maybe Malacca markets, and then you take it for granted. Like, oh, the plantain is there, the tomatoes is there. But a lot of effort goes into getting the plantain or anything on the farm. And so now that we are putting our minds on how we are going to transform the industry of hemp, we also have to educate ourselves as to what other dimensions are in agriculture. And for that matter, what other dimensions that we have to look at when we come into this industry. We have, firstly, the primary production, which generally deals with the land preparations and then seed, and then you look at the growth. It's almost equivalent to a pregnancy period. When you have the seed on the land, you have to care for it until you have the produce. And so we have to be mindful of those periods and what it takes to keep those periods into optimum that we get the right return. Then comes post-harvest. After you have received the produce, or let's say after you have given birth to a child, there is the post-harvest. How are you going to keep this child to become a good child? How are we going to transform the produce? It's another industry. After harvest, what are the in-betweens? We have to bring our minds to it. Then comes the next, the processing. Are we going to change our hemp into wood? Are we going to change it into medicine? Are we going to do ropes? Are we going to do fabric? We have to bring our minds to all the myriad of opportunities that are available along the line. And then comes marketing and distribution. When you do the three, for any other agricultural venture, if you go through the three and you fail to market and distribute, you have come to naught. All the investments, because the output, either polished, bottled, packaged, must get to the final user, and then the cycle is good. There's this story of a professor who taught me in poetry. And our first lecture, she gave very nice stories about poetry, literature, Charity, Echiahin, I used to call her Comfort, gave very good stories about poetry. That you get a lot of money, you can even eat some of the eggs and eat some of the spent chicken and all those things. It was not until I joined the faculty, then I had to go around and I realized that there were a lot of risks. So it is true that people can give you the exposure, that there's so much for you to gain, but there are risks. But these risks can be mitigated. And so we are going to look at what is going to hinder us. And these have been some of the challenges and risks that has bedeviled the industry. Because our focus is in Ghana, we also have to tailor the issue to country issues. Some may apply to globally general, and but let's come to Ghana because our focus is on Ghana. One area that would break your heart is land access. Indeed, we have enough arable lands to do whatever we want to. But getting access to land is very difficult. Those who are in the capital know even land for housing. Let me assure you that a lot of efforts are underway to put measures in place. Recently, I even heard double sales are punishable. There's a law about that. But until then, acquisition of land, double sales, and all those things can break your heart, can deter you. You can put so much investment into purchasing, and then you can move on. So these are some of the things that we have to look at and find out institutions that can assist so that we can have access, not freely, but without impediment. We don't want land that are incumbent. No, we should have long ago maybe borrowed the Ofebuahin theory, where he rather decided to group the land areas into land banks. We haven't done that. Lands are into the hands of families and chiefs. We have to dialogue on those and have to see how we navigate ourselves. The other part is also the land tenure system. The access is different from the tenure because of the ownership. In some areas in the country, land has been divided into pieces in such a way that you have to see too many people in order to get a piece of land to work on. So the inheritance system and the way land is owned and shared can also be looked at as we go forward. Then we have, since we are talking about agriculture, we have to look at grains. Grains are very important in agriculture. They come in good numbers, but they may not come in good distribution. Because we want the rains maybe in June and in July. It rains in June, doesn't rain in July. What do we do? We have to look at it. What measures to be put in place going forward so that when we put a crop on the land and we fertilize or we manufacture, we give it all the crop care. If the crop can get enough rain. Without the rain, the sunshine is not enough for the crop to grow. Then we will also look at labor costs. Labor cost is increasingly becoming high. Apparently, it's interesting, but every cost now is pivoted around cost of food in Ghana. Okay, petrol has increased, and therefore the masons' labor cost has increased. And then it goes back to the guy reading on the farm. He says that the mason has increased his cost, the truck driver has increased his price, right? He goes to the market, and so you have to look at it. Labor access and labor cost. Because we agriculture, and for that matter, the hemp industry must run profitable. How are we going to manage that as a risk? We also have the issue of low access to technology. The hemp industry cannot adapt, in my view, the little acreage farming systems. From my experience, the management is going to be extremely hard. And most importantly, this industry is moving from a stage of stigmatization into a new era where it's going to be accepted. And for me, security and monitoring and supervision is going to be very critical. So if you have scattered farms all over, and you don't have technology to do larger scales, or even if we have to adapt the small farms, how are we going to monitor them? Are we going to use drones? And what are we going to do to ensure that people are doing the right? So technology access currently is low. How are we going to go on? Then we have to look at the issue of pests and diseases, which we cannot run away from. They are going to live with us forever, and we just have to find crafty, strategic ways to fight them. Recently, I had to fight armyworm 2 occasions on my plantation. If there were no agro inputs, so to say, I was going to lose my crop. So we have to be mindful, what are the pests and diseases in the industry? Are there existing knowledge already, or we are going to go from scratch one? How are we going to bridge these gaps? They look daunting, but we don't have to invent the wheel. Other countries have perfected some systems. We can also lean on our indigenous systems and improve upon those systems. So my proposal is that we have to reform our land tenure system. When we reform them, it affords us the opportunity to invest in agriculture. Agriculture needs very heavy investments. So when you come, and the very important factor of production, land, gives you so much revenue. It pushes people away from putting good money into agriculture. And so that must be addressed, so that those who are lovers of agriculture, and for that matter, lovers of the hemp industry, they can put their money to use, and they know they can be assured the project will continue to work, it will not stop. Another area I would want to suggest is that we have to also look at land banks. Again, we can borrow from Cote d'Ivoire. We shouldn't go very far. They are just our neighbors. The Ofegwain system that I talk about is that the land banks are not owned by government. The original owners of the lands are there. However, the lands have been zoned into what we call land use. So if I came to Accra, or let's say those of us in this auditorium, we are a team and we have arrived in Ghana and we want to do hemp. When we go to the land use secretariat, they'll tell us that there is 5,000 hectares of land in Bono East region of Ghana that is suitable for hemp, industrial hemp production. It cuts off all the bureaucracy. So you go with your documents, you do your registration, you fill in, and then the necessary handshake in terms of documentation signing are done. However, in the situation that we find ourselves now, we would have to go ourselves moving. If we end up meeting the wrong people, it may throw us off. And that's lots of time, lots of energy, lots of money. Now, we also have to look at the farmers. Over the years, efforts have been made to bring farmers into cooperatives. It has not worked too well because all of them have been based on short-term benefits. But I believe that there is still good reason for us to look at farmer associations and farmer societies. Original farmers associations and societies, which so operate in Germany, Canada, and maybe Switzerland, they are very productive associations where the collective bargaining and all those issues are enhanced. Supportive systems. You can meet all this, you understand? But as individual farmers, it is very difficult for us to bargain. It is very difficult for us to engage even bigger companies. And then because we want, for this industry, there's a need for security, solution, and management. We need to have a group that we can hold responsible. And therefore, my proposal is for us to look at sustainable farmer societies. Also, it is sad, but I stand corrected. I think that the media has not been the friend of agriculture in Ghana. The media has not been a friend of agriculture in Ghana because agriculture is such an industry that transcends all the other sectors of the country. Agriculture uses knowledge. It may use even education. It may use health. But if you look at the media leverage on agriculture systems, the season has started right about April. What was the message on agriculture in sharing information to farmers when there's bumper harvest and there are no markets? So I am proposing that we have to get our own agri media. Because if we don't promote ourselves, nobody's going to promote you. And if they will do it at all, they are going to do it half-heartedly at a higher cost. So it is one area that we should try to invest critically into farmer media, so that we can support ourselves and know what must go on. Yeah. So I was talking about the farmer agro media. Agro media must be a sensitive center where issues of agri, which is so important to us as a country, and therefore the hemp industry must be promoted on a daily basis. Issues are discussed. We are abreast with the new developments worldwide. We can't invent the wheel. We have to share our knowledge. Indeed, there's one TV station, a graphic TV, but I think that more must be done, in my view. Compared with other sectors of the country, more must be done in terms of media agriculture. But we shouldn't wait for others to start. As we move on our journey on the hemp industry, I think that is one area we should put more attention to. That we have a positive media that will drive the way. The other area is also about farmer education. You cannot take it for granted. If you do the survey, you realize that it is recently that you see a lot of educated people, highly educated people, moving into agriculture. the greater portion of the practitioners in agriculture have a lower level of education. We shouldn't take it for granted. Some efforts and good efforts should be put into farmer education. If you leave one partner along the line low too much, the drive will be slow, the speed will be slow. Let's make sure that everybody has a good tempo based on their knowledge base. And therefore, farmer education is an area we should look at. Is a challenge. Also, we want to look at the concept of the concept of farmer school. The concept of farmer school can assist us to bring up the level of the farmers. We know the production cycle a day, in the morning to maybe in the evening. Are they available? You cannot enter into the formal education. But we can create farmer schools wherever we establish these plantations. We can do even now with technology, we can tap on satellites and internet and then share ideas with them. So they become abreast with new knowledge instead of trying to force them into formal education. So farmer schools that help in and then we can look at also what I call the intersectoral linkages. Agri on its own, or for that matter, the development of the hemp industry on its own will never work. Because it doesn't stand alone. There are other sectors, like I intimated earlier, transport, right? College, warehousing, services. There are many other sectors that interrelate. Even you can even talk about the issue of hospitals, because the health of the people engaged in there, if the rural people will impinge. If they have health challenges, it will impinge on the program. So we should look at also the broad aspect of interlinkages. This area is more with government. Here we can advocate. We can speak about it. We can dialogue so that resources and infrastructure can come to us. We can even talk about roads. You know, if most of the plantations are going to be far away from ACCRA, how do we quickly get the output to either the factories, or if the factories are even based on the land, how are we going to get it distributed locally and internationally? We need those linkages also done. Then this has been with us, financing. Financing in agri has been a bottleneck. I think now we have to think of strategic ways of financing agri. And this, I propose we look at the project planning again, because agri is not a short-term business. And so we have to dialogue again and then get a financing structure that meets the programming of agri. It's not costs. Somebody can go and import goods from India or China. They are finished goods. You know, they may be even agri goods. People are bringing rice. You are not looking at those who finance the rice from the production dimension that I talk about, the farming itself, the post-harvest, the processing, they are back. But it has reached Ghana. So you have bought it and you think that is the business. You didn't look at how it got to Ghana. Let's look back and do the same thing. How are businesses financed in agri? Until you see it on your table, delicious, and then you are fetching it. It is so important. That is the way I want us to engage financing. We encourage the financing institutions to come early on board. They should participate and listen to the way we want to go, so that they can appreciate the cycle of growth and the benefits now. Until we struggle and now they want to come in to do it. Now, this is where everybody has been ready to listen to the benefits. We have discussed our risk. We have tried to look at the gaps and what does it mean for us. Firstly, we have to accept that there are going to be dynamic changes. There are going to be dynamic changes in the way we do things. And therefore, we have to try and acclimatize ourselves for the way forward. It's not going to be easy. So let's put our mind to it psychologically, mentally, and physically, that this journey will bring a lot of change. Why? One is a new industry. So it will need that we have to adjust to the industry. Even planning system may be different. Post-harvest may be different. Processing may be different. And much more. Because we are going to be led, compared to many of the subsectors in agriculture, we are going to be led by an AI. There's going to be a legal frame within which the hemp industry is going to strive. And therefore, this change is going to be drastic. We have to bring our minds to the governance of the industry. And that should be the start. If we can fit ourselves into the governance of the industry, then we can look at the benefits. We want to see that we are complying with the standards. We are complying with the laws that have been laid by the country, so that we are also having then the leverage to invest in the industry and then get a return. So therefore, I believe that if we can take care of the challenges and then build it up, there will be higher production capacity with the systems I've discussed. Because if you can go on large scale, contiguous plantations, and then you can do much, processes are more synchronized, so the cost is down, higher productivity, higher capacity. What else? There's also improved security of farmer assets. As we speak now, if we are individual farmers, I have one tractor, I can't even utilize the tractor for its capacity. Okay, so when I do my 10 acres, I'm looking around, trying to do hiring for other people. But when we come to the societal or the block farming system, the resources are used optimally. The returns are high. Okay. Then we want to look at the bargaining power, because most of the farmers we are going to be involved with from this start are smaller farmers. The proposal is that when we come into the farmer associations or the farmer societies where there's a collective strength, then there's also a better bargain. There'll be a better bargain for the farmer, because the farmer should have strength to deal or to engage either the processor or the off-taker. And this has been one of the difficulties in the agricultural industry. Anytime you have the farmer being the weaker of the partnership, what happens? I give you an example. Let's say I'm a small farmer. I do 100 acres of potatoes. And then my bargaining power is so weak that I don't get a good return. The next year, I don't do 100 acres. What do I do? Economics. I do 50 acres and create a scarcity. So when there's scarcity, the prices will go up. However, we are saying that we want to produce more to meet the market. And therefore, the farmer is so important. If the farmer bargain is taken care of, if the partnership is properly ironed out, because we have groomed the farmers and put them in a place of strength, then we are going to get it better. And then production levels are going to go higher, and the productivity will go higher. Then, with this, the farmer has enhanced revenue. The farmer's revenue is important. Initially, we said, why do we do agri? We do agri not only for the food security, we do it also for income. It's a way of life. It's a business. Nobody enters into a business to lose. And therefore, it's my view that when these gaps are filled, the farmer's income will improve. It will enhance. With increase in knowledge, even per area, productivity will increase. For example, if a farmer has 1 acre of land and he does plant maize and he doesn't have the capacity to put fertilizer, NPK, urea, his yield is small. But through this arrangement, if he has fertilizers, his yield just for the same acre can be doubled. So not necessarily even expanding his land, but the capacity of the existing land can improve with knowledge and with access to financing and with everything. And then we are looking at an issue which is still with us. We are grappling with it. Everybody talks about savings. Some will say that you can save only when you have surplus. But we still say savings is important. In this way, if the farmer's income is enhanced, the surpluses become bigger. And therefore, then we can now push along a saving culture for people to save either towards their pension, because the farmer, you can go on pension. There seem to be no pension, but there's a pension because when your capacity is low, you are in pension. You could weed 2 acres, now you can't weed 2 acres, you are going to pension anyway. So I believe that when we go through these steps and the farmer's income is increased and then he has bigger surpluses, then we can look at pension schemes. We can look at savings schemes. They are all under savings. So the farmer's future is guaranteed when he's out of his main office, so to say. We also want to look at what I call the optimal utilization. I intimated earlier. If we have assets, if we have tractors, if we have planters, and we have harvesters, if we go into the societal level, if even the farms are scattered, the one use of the machine will bring a higher return than I have one, you have one, and all are underutilized. And if it's a larger scale, all the better. Then we also would have a benefit of better access to markets. As individual, if you go to the market, your strength is low. And this is a fact. It has happened to many people in Ghana, especially marketing of agricultural produce in Europe. I send my yam. I go alone, and unlike Cote d'Ivoire, where it is marketed nationally, Ghana, I go farming, and I go with my yam. So I sit in London and check the markets. Then I see my cost of stay. Oh, my margins are coming down. I dump my yam, and I come home. Okay, there's no collective power as we go on the market. But if you see Cote d'Ivoire, where they go as collective power, I understand they even have a badge in Antioch. So they do collect all the produce at a central place. And then there's an agency that is marketing. So the return is high. And so for us, I think we also have to look at it in whichever way it is going to happen for the farmer, that the market access is also looked at. Well, when it's looked at properly in a collective way, the farmer is going to gain. Also, we have to look at the sustainable growth of the farmer's business. We can't continue to propound theories about the farmer must be supported. There have been a lot of documents written about poverty alleviation in the country, intervention. Please, let's stop. The joke is too much. This industry must look at it in a different way. The farmer is a key player. All the issues that will address the sustainable growth of the farmer and his business must be looked at. Otherwise, we will be going back to what has happened to other industries or subsectors within agriculture. Unlike cocoa is very unique, to tell you. However, even cocoa linkages are not perfect, but it's unique. Let's mimic beyond the cocoa industry system and come out with a fine-tuned system for the hemp industry, where the key players see themselves as partners on the table and with shared benefits. Shared benefit is that it depends on your input, but not that his input is so priced low that he doesn't feel a partner in the industry. Then we look at the environment and the ecosystem. The issue of environmental degradation and ozone issue, carbon issue is hunting us. Okay? The higher industrial area, they feel it. Even Ghana, the rainfall pattern has changed. Things have shifted. All this to do with environment and economy. Fortunately, this industry has one of the biggest potential to solve carbon data issue and carbon adoption because of all plant plantations available and research. The hemp does the best in carbon adoption. And therefore, we should not just go in there looking at the monetary benefits, but we should look at the contribution that we are going to put up for the total ecosystem. And indeed, if we don't eat hemp, we also will have to farm cassava, we have to crop maize, and the other crop in the agriculture industry. This impact must be looked at. There are other hidden benefits in there, in global carbon data access. Well, we can't conclude on this issue. I think I didn't put that up there. There must be an error. Because how can we conclude on the issue of risks and benefits of the farmer? It's an ongoing dialogue. And I think I apologize for it coming there, but I didn't put it there. Because we have to continue with this dialogue even after I have finished. However, I want us to remember that agriculture is a value chain. It's a value chain in the sense that all the different gestation periods or linkages must run in symphony, not like somebody conducting. The moment financing or attention is lowered in one, it affects the whole system. And so that is how we should look at the hemp industry. That we ourselves sit down and subdivide it into the different components and give all the different components the needed attention, starting from research to the field of the farmer, after harvesting, processing, packaging, marketing and distribution. All these must be given key attention. A way of life is also going to be a way of life. this business. It's going to be business. Business not as usual. Business that will have integrity. Business that we can stand on and say that we have image. The image is going to be important. For those participants in Ghana, we have to look at the image. Because, like I said earlier, we are starting from a place of stigmatization. And therefore, all efforts must be made collectively to protect the industry. It pays excellent rewards on a sustainable basis. There's no doubt about it. The hemp industry pays good returns. But it requires collective responsibility, like I said. Let's collectively protect each section, participate in the dialogue in the different sections, and try to ensure that nobody goes foul to the law. Because one goes foul to the law, even at marketing, it affects production. At research, it affects production or process. So we have to be watchdogs ourselves so that we don't get any nuts coming in to spoil our soup. We have to work together as one formidable group so we protect the industry because the returns are good. And therefore, long live sustainable agriculture, long live our efforts in the hemp industry, long live Ghana. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Daniel. Please give her another round of applause. Dr. Daniel, thank you again for coming to the second annual Ghana Hemptech Conference and discussing the risks and rewards for farmers. And if anyone wants to contact you, just give your contact information. Okay, so you can contact Dr. Daniel. You can also contact co-op executive at gmail.com because he will be around. We'll have many more discussions about hemp farmers and what's going to happen when this legislative instrument is finished and people are given licenses, because the information that he was given is highly valuable and most important so that farmers know what they're getting into this industry. So next we will have a presentation from the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. So we will take 5 minutes for you to go get coffee, washroom. There's breakfast in the other room, and then we'll come back for our next presenter. Thank you.